Hello and welcome. This is an Algebra 1 video where we're going to review how to solve some two-step or multi-step equations. Okay, here is our first example. This is what we call a two-step equation because we will need to do the inverse of two different operations to solve for the given variable, which is p. So right under the equal sign, I'm going to draw a line to show where the two sides of the equation are. Anytime something crosses that line, we do that by doing the opposite to both sides. So I'm going to start with this adding 1, and I want to move it to the other side of the equal sign so that it is away from the p. My goal is to get everything away from the p so I can tell what p is equal to. So the opposite, since it has to cross the line, of adding 1 is to subtract 1. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides here. Then these ones will cancel out because 1 minus 1 is 0. So that either zeros out or cancels out, however you want to say that. And then 7 minus 1 is 6. And I'll put a 3p down here. I'm just bringing that down because we haven't done anything with that yet. Now I need to move the 3 away from the p. 3 times p is what is being represented here. Anytime you have a number next to a variable, that means multiply. So this is telling me 3 times p is equal to 6. Well, the opposite of multiplying something by 3 is to divide it by 3. So I'm going to divide this by 3 and this by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1p is just p. So I'm going to cancel those out and put the p down here. And then 6 divided by 3 is equal to 2. So my final answer here is that p equals 2. Okay, here is our next one. This one is the whole expression of s minus 1 is being divided by 2, and that's equal to 3, and we're solving for s. So this one I'm going to do a little bit differently, not too differently, but a little bit differently because that whole expression of s minus 1 is being divided by 2. I'm still going to draw the line down here, and then in the opposite of dividing an expression by 2 is to multiply it by 2. So I'm going to multiply this times 2 and this side times 2. Remember, I'm trying to move that 2 away to the other side of the equation, so I have to do the opposite to both sides. Whenever you multiply something by 2 and then divide it by 2, you're right back to where you started. So I'm going to cancel those out. I'm not going to bother doing that because I'm just going to end up with the same answer. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down that s minus 1 equals, and then 3 times 2 is 6. Now I need to move the 1 away from the s so I can find out what s is equal to. And the opposite of subtracting 1 is to add 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides of the equation. I'm going to cancel these out because a negative 1 plus 1 is 0 and bring down the s. And then 6 plus 1 is 7. So in this case, the solution is that s is equal to 7. Okay, here's our next example. This equation is 3 equals negative 3 times the expression w plus 4. So I'm going to need to do a little simplifying before I start solving this one because I have that negative 3 outside the parentheses. That negative 3 with nothing in between it means to multiply that by everything inside the parentheses. So I'm going to do that first before I start trying to solve. So I'm going to multiply this times w and times 4. So negative 3 times w is negative 3w, and negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. So I've replaced the plus sign with a minus because to add negative 12 is the same as to subtract 12. I still have this 3 equals over here. Now that I've simplified it, now I can draw the line to show the two sides of the equation and start moving things away from w. The opposite of subtracting 12 is to add 12. So to move it away from the w, I'm going to do that and move it across the line. This will cancel out or zero out. And then 3 plus 12 is 15. So we have 15 equals negative 3w. I just brought that down because I haven't done anything with it yet. Now, w is being multiplied by negative 3. So the opposite of that, to move it away into the other side, would be to divide it by negative 3. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. This cancels, and I end up with a w over here. 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. So my final answer here is going to be negative 5 equals w, or w equals negative 5. Okay, here's my next example. And in this example, again, I have a 3 outside the parentheses, r plus 1 inside that expression inside. So I need to simplify that before we start to solve it. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply 3 times r and 3 times 1. 6 equals 3 times r, which is 3r, and 3 times 1, which is 3. So I'm going to keep that plus sign in between. Now what I need to do is start moving things away from the r. So I'm going to draw that line here. I'm going to move this 3 to the other side by doing the opposite and getting it away from that r. The opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3 from both sides. Cancel that out. I have 3r here, and 6 minus 3 is 3. Okay, so this is what I have so far. Now I need to move the other 3 that's next to the r away from the r. So that would be 3 times r. The opposite of multiplying something by 3 is to divide it by 3. So I'm going to divide this side by 3 and this side by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1 times r is just r. So this will cancel to r, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So in this case, the solution is 1 equals r, or r equals 1. Okay, here is our next example and our last example for today's video. This is u divided by 2 minus 1 equals 1, and we're solving for u. I'm going to rewrite this because I like to rewrite my fractions so that they are on top of each other. So u over 2 minus 1 equals 1. Now, you don't have to do that. I just like to do that because visually it looks better to me. I'm going to go ahead and draw that line under the equal sign, and I'm going to start by moving that minus 1 to the other side and away from the u. The opposite of subtracting 1 is to add 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. These are going to cancel out because negative 1 plus 1 equals 0, and 1 plus 1 on this side equals 2. And then I'm going to bring down the u divided by 2 because I haven't done anything with that yet. Okay, now u divided by 2, the opposite of that would be to multiply it by 2. So I'm going to multiply this side times 2 and this side times 2. What happens on the left is 2 times a number, then divided by 2 leaves you with just that number. So we're going to cancel that, and we're just going to rewrite that as u. That kind of looks like a 4, so let me rewrite that, u. There we go. And then 2 times 2 on the other side equals 4. So the solution to this would be u equals 4. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you in another video soon.